What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a good day and week thus far. So we are back with our next horror movie review, and as I've mentioned in the past, I am doing a mix of older, semi-older horror films versus the new films that have been coming out, I'd say over the past like 1 week to probably 2-3 months, give or take. Now I feel this approach is good for those who might be new to the horror genre, maybe uncover some new films for many people who may not have heard of, or may have overlooked some of these previously released films that are very seniored, horror fans who have been a part of the genre for quite some time. But it also allows a bit of some time to pass for everyone, whether you're new to the genre, you're not new to the genre, to watch some of the newer releases before I end up doing a spoiler review on them. So for example, like some of the releases that have come out over the past few weeks, especially one that came out today, for example, Hard Eyes, Companion, Presence, those types of films have recently come out. I am going to be doing full spoiler reviews on those. I'm just looking to allow a little bit of time to pass for people to have the opportunity to watch them before we put out a spoiler review. So just wanted to preface, that's why I'm kind of doing a mix of a bit of older, semi-older horror films versus everything being new. I'm just trying to do a nice mix of them. So with that said, as you can see on the screen here, our review today will be focused on a Hulu original from 2023 called No One Will Save You. Now this is starring Kaitlyn Dever. This film has been deemed a horror. It's been deemed a few things: horror, science fiction, mystery film. And in my opinion, this is the appropriate categorization, since the primary focus of this film is extraterrestrial alien invasion. So if you're into that type of subgenre, aliens, UFOs, things like that, I think this will be right up your alley. I think you will enjoy this film. So also, the preface: this film is not going to be a gore fest, slasher film, anything like that. Not that type of film. So if you're coming into it thinking it's going to be that type of alien invasion film, that's not what it's like. Also, this is critical to take note before you start this film, before you decide to see this film. There are maybe 5 to 8 words spoken in the entire film, and 98% of the screen time is focused on Kaitlyn's character. We're following her for pretty much the entire film, and again, 5 to 8 words spoken in the entire thing. So if that one aspect, you can't deal with that, you can't deal with just watching a movie for like the acting, the suspense, the music and score kind of building up the intensity, this will absolutely not be a film for you. So I want to be clear on this point for those of you who have not seen this film, so there are no surprises if you see this review, you decide to go watch it. So that's why I wanted to mention that. So now we're going to go on into my high-level summary, thoughts, and ranking of this film. But be warned, we will be discussing some spoilers from this point forward. So again, if you have not seen the film and you planned on seeing it, or now you know this is a film that's out there and you want to see it, I'd say, go watch it, then come back to the video, finish our video, drop a comment in the comment section, and let us know what you thought about it. And obviously finish the video so you know how we ranked it. In addition to the genres we already mentioned, this is also being considered as a home invasion film as well. Now I can see that, but not in the traditional sense we have seen with many other films in that subgenre. So I just want to put that out there. It's also being considered that as well, because a good chunk of the film, it starts off with that aspect, and we'll cover off on that in a moment, but a good portion or chunk of the film does also happen within the house, as you see here on the screen. So again, just want everyone to be fully aware of how the premise is set up for this film. So getting into some of the details. So we follow the main character. The main character is Bryn, as I mentioned, who's going to be played by Kaitlyn Dever, who lives by herself on the outskirts of the town she lives in. And she has found ways of keeping herself busy, whether that's through crafts, penning, writing letters, and various other hobbies that she has, in addition to selling like handmade items. We do see her, she does have some skill set level of a seamstress. She can create dresses, and we see her doing that, and then packaging them up to send them out. So we are making that assumption that she does have some sort of online presence, maybe, to be selling these items. So that's one thing that we see right from the get-go as we're introduced to her. So while doing all this, she continues. You can tell she continues to mourn the loss of her mom, who has passed away, and the additional reason why she lives this way eventually comes to light. I mean, why she lives on the outskirts of town, why she's by herself, kind of very secluded. Again, as the film moves on, and it appears very quickly that much of what she is doing is to avoid something that might be a deeper pain or unresolved matter. We see that from as she's writing some of the letters she's writing, some of the pictures that she's looking at, that there's something else also keeping her on the outskirts of town. Why she's so secluded from pretty much everyone else in the city, even her neighbors as well. So it seems like, again, she continues to hold on to this, and it's controlling her life in many ways, because we also see where she's very, I don't want to say fidgety, but she's very much things have to be set in a certain way, things have to happen in a certain way, and again, she's very much, it seems like, on edge a lot of the time when we're introduced to her. So as Bryn starts her day, she finishes up what appears to be a couple dresses, she packages them up, and starts to head into town to post these parcels. But on her way out the door, she notices a circle, I would say a medium-sized circle, nothing large, probably no bigger than a full-size picnic table, round picnic table, in her front yard, and she knows it because the grass is dead. So she thought, she looked at it, she's thinking, no, this looks odd. Immediately goes and gets the hose to water it down, I guess thinking it's going to resolve it quickly. Once she does that, she's on her way, and once in town, we see people, whether it's on her way in, like her neighbors, or once she gets in town, we see people looking upon her with disgust, or she attempts to hide or avoid everyone, like she doesn't want to interact with anybody, like she has this fear of doing it. So we see that happen. She sends out her parcels. So after returning home, and pretty much the day is over, and she's we find her in the middle of the night sleeping. She's awakened by a noise that's coming from the outside, which startles her, not sure what it is. She gets up to look out the window, and she sees one of the trash bins has been knocked over. So obviously a bit frustrated, she goes to get her robe on, her slippers to go outside, and she doesn't even make it all the way down the stairs before she is frightened and to see an unfriendly extraterrestrial in her home. So it's like the invasion. I don't want to call it an invasion, has already happened, but this is our first glimpse of what that circle was about. And now that there's this unwanted guest in her home, so she starts to immediately panic. We can hear the sounds that from this point forward, just referred to as an alien, is making, and now it's obviously freaking her out. She's trying to get back up the stairs, but she lives in a very older home, as you could see here on the screen. So like the stairs, the wooden floors are very crickety, so as you step on them, they make a lot of noise, and this is what draws the attention of the alien, that someone or something is there. So as she attempts to run to her room, she is followed by the alien, who is now trying to find her. So from this point forward, up until the last 8 to 10 minutes of the film, we follow Bryn as she is pretty much now just thrown into a non-stop battle to avoid her attackers, which we see various types of them. So we see a couple that are just like the size of a human. We see a couple of these aliens that are 10 plus feet tall, and even as small as like a medium-sized dog. So she's now in this way where she needs to, at first she's very fearful, very frightful, just trying to hide, but she comes to a point where she now just accepts the situation and realizing if she's going to survive, she needs to start to fight back. So she become very resourceful, and even kills a few of them. She kills the one that was in her house that tried to get her, and she happens to kill a couple of others as again she tries to avoid being captured by them. So as we follow her through each situation where you think it might be her last, we come to find out why everyone in town has shunned her, why she lives on the outskirts of town, what this underlying guilt is. So we come to find out she was responsible for the death of her best friend when she was when she was a child and her friend was a child. So probably like around 10, 12 years old when they were both young. So we get a flashback of the event that took place. We don't know what led up to it because it's silent. There's no dialogue. But we see that there's a dispute between her and her friend where her friend pushes her down to the ground, and Bryn grabs a rock and reacts by, turning around and swinging, and she hits her friend in the head, obviously, subsequently taking her life. So something she, along with the townsfolk, has never been able to forgive her for. So because in town, the father of the girl appears to be the sheriff or the captain, the head of like the police force that's there, we're led to believe, and obviously the mother is still there as well. And we see a point where Bryn tries to get into town after her first interaction with the first alien, after she has killed it. She runs into the parents because, again, he's a police officer. So she sees them, they see her, the mother spits on her face. Again, nothing is said, and eventually Bryn leaves and tries to get back home. Actually, she eventually thinks to herself, I'm just going to leave town altogether. She attempts that by buying a bus ticket, thinking, okay, I'm just going to leave everything. Leaving my house, I'm leaving everything. She attempts that, but then when she's on the bus, some of the other individuals have been we'll call it infected by these aliens. So now they start to try to, attack her, capture her. And I think the reason why they do so is because either they know that she's not infected, or they can smell the presence of the alien she just killed, and now they're trying to get her. So she manages to escape off the bus and get back home. Again, it's this constant cat and mouse game that she's playing, trying to survive and stay clear of any of them. So after roughly 80 minutes of that, again, that cat and mouse game, several attempts to stay alive, we begin to see several people, as I mentioned, not just the ones on the bus, if not the entire town, has faced a similar visit from one of these aliens, because we get an aerial view once Bryn is trying to make it back home, as far as being on the bus. We see an aerial view where each home has like one of these dead circles in their yard. So we're meant to believe that each house had at least one of these aliens, enter it in order to infect whoever was living there. So so as we move on, others now are under the control of these aliens, and we see what appears to be a parasite inside each of the humans. Based on there's a movement in their throat where we get a couple close-ups where Bryn runs across a couple of them, and they all turn at the same time to look at her, and then they focus in on their necks, where you can see something moving, and it appears to be what is now controlling the human body in order to get transported or so to speak beamed up by these ships that are in the air picking up all these humans. Now, because Bryn doesn't have one in her, she has the free will to move about and not be controlled by them. So just as Bryn believes she has managed to escape capture, once again a bright light which serves as some type of, as I mentioned, like a controlling force beam, captures her while she's in her house as she's trying to evade an alien from moving. Now she can't move, she can't do anything, and an alien walks in after this additional battle and coughs up one of these parasites, and this parasite enters Bryn's mouth. And as soon as it does, we are then we're almost like transported inside of her mind, or a projection of what the aliens want her to see, where she is back at home, everything's normal, and her mom's alive in there. And this is where we get the first point of dialogue, is where she says, something to her mother. I believe, if I remember correctly, she says, "I'm sorry, Mom," or something to that effect. But again, it was literally like 5 or 8 words, and that was it. But we also then, Bryn realizes that it's not real. She quickly realizes it's not, and we see her then reaching down her throat. Screen starts to shake, and then we're transported back into the reality where we see she's no longer in the house, she's now outside, almost as if the parasite had taken full control of her, took her outside in order to get taken upon the ships. She manages to get it out of her throat, and in her attempt to kill it, it escapes, and then this beam comes down from a ship onto the parasite, assuming that there's a human attached, and brings it up. So she manages again to escape that the being controlled by the parasite. So once we are shifted again, as I mentioned, back to reality, we see that take place. This would explain how they would get everyone else onto these ships. As I mentioned, they can't control their own bodies. Now, eventually, Bryn has nowhere else to run. Unfortunately, she is then captured in the woods by one of these beams, and she's just taken. Again, she has no parasite in her, so she's not controlled, but they manage to capture her. Now, while there are various aliens, we see her, and when she's on the ship, we get these various aliens surrounding her. And they managed, when they touch her, they're managed to now see all of her past, her inner thoughts, her feelings. And when this happens, you see like the aliens almost as if they're taking pity on her or feeling sorry for everything she's been in. And then they almost as if they decide they're not going to do whatever it was that they were going to do to her, because they start talking to each other in their own language, and they look up at the top of what appears to be their spaceship. One of them says something, and then this event starts to happen. The screen goes black, and Bryn wakes up in her bed like she's been jolted awake from a bad dream. And that's how it appears. It appears, again, everything is normal. The house is back into perfect condition, and she thinks, oh, this was all a dream. And then she starts to go about her daily life like she was before, much happier though, almost as if a weight has been lifted off her shoulders. She gets on her bicycle, makes her way into town. Now this is where I think we can believe, we as the audience believe, okay, this can't be real, because now all of a sudden she's in town, she's living life, and oddly the movie ends with like a song and dance with various people from town. Again, which wouldn't make sense at all. And then as the camera pans away from like this little like block party, neighborhood party, small thing, we see various of the alien spaceships in the sky, and what appears to be a place they created for her to believe where she is at is real, and everything she had ever been experiencing was a dream. Her mother dying, her friend dying, all that was just a dream, and now she's waking up in her true reality. So the ending was a bit of a throw for me. It didn't feel like it truly matched the tone of the film. But again, they're making her believe that it was all a dream, yet they still are keeping hold of her as they now move on to other planets. Because again, you see all these other alien spaceships going back out what appears to be throughout the galaxy. So overall, now we look at now that's pretty much the summary of the film. Now overall, the acting, the score, again, as I mentioned a number of times, the cat and mouse aspects, I think is what make this film really, really good. I won't say great, but really good. You almost don't want to miss the fact that there are no lines, there's no dialogue, and as you're constantly looking to see how Bryn will manage to escape, this alien or that alien. As she starts to kill one off here and one off there, another one pops up, and it might be a completely different type that she has to manage how to get away from. So overall, I would give this film a solid 4. I believe it's one of those, I believe for those of you who like sci-fi horror, alien invasion, UFO type stuff, I would think this film would probably be right up your alley. And I think that this was a nice addition to the subgenre of sci-fi horror. So I would definitely recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, check it out. And that's assuming you can get past the fact there's no dialogue. The film is solely being based on the acting and the score, which again, for films that don't have dialogue, and we've seen others like that in the horror genre, but for this one in particular, I thought it was done very well. Again, I'd give it a solid 4 out of 5, no questions about it. Would I go back and watch this again? I probably will eventually, just to start picking up on other things that I might have missed, because I was so enthralled in trying to make sure I didn't miss how she's going to escape this situation, or is there another alien around the corner, right? So that's going to do it for my quick high-level summary review of the film No One Will Save You. Again, this is a Hulu original, so you can find it on Hulu. Now, for international people, I know Hulu may not be available to you. I do not know if this is on Disney Plus. If it is on Disney Plus, I would recommend checking and see if it's there. Otherwise, for at least for the US people, it is on Hulu. So again, I give a 4 out of 5, but I highly recommend go watch it for yourself, because you may rate it higher, you may rate it lower, but still worth giving it at least one view to form a solid opinion. So all right, that's going to do it for this review. Make sure you drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the film. No one will save you if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, again, go give it a watch. Again, it's not that long. It's your typical 90 minutes. Come back, drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you thought. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.